Okay, so we're going to continue working today in SketchUp, and I think the focus today is to actually start working on your assignment 106, which is essentially assignment 105 but modeled in 3D. So you've all worked on your AutoCAD for the assignment 105. You have what you believe to be your design set for your cabin in the Yosemite Valley. When you start to build it in 3D, you may find that you don't like certain things about it. By all means, you're welcome to change it. You don't have to stick to accurately modeling what you did in 105. But I think it's really important for you to work through doing some AutoCAD drawing, bringing those AutoCAD drawings into SketchUp, and then starting to work in 3D and see how that plays out. So I think it's a good kind of handoff, and I want to work through the handoff today. I do say in part 1 to download the site information. That was a kind of a holdover from last semester where I didn't give an assignment 105, so you're already familiar with the site. So we will deal with integrating your building into the site next class. So for today, we're really only concentrating on building the building itself. So I kind of want to walk through how that transition happens from AutoCAD into SketchUp, and then how I would go about building out this scene. So a couple things that are important to recognize. When you bring in your AutoCAD file, SketchUp will read the AutoCAD version that's on the computer, so you don't have to. You used to have to save it in an older version of AutoCAD. It will come in just fine. However, you want to be very careful to check on the options before you bring it in. So I have a brand new SketchUp Pro 2013 open right now. I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go to Import. And when I pick Import, I'm going to navigate to my flash drive. Let's hope I'm still on my flash drive. Yes, I am. And I'm going to pick my finished DWG file. And so I'm going to look under Files of Type here. I'm going to specify an AutoCAD file rather than a SketchUp file. And you see that my AutoCADs show up here. I have no idea which version is the right version. But we'll start with this one and see how it turns out. There is over here the ability to click on options. Right? You want to make sure that you click on this options because there's a few things that are critical. Okay? In geometry, merge coplanar faces, orient faces consistently. Those don't really matter. You can check those or uncheck those. For what we're doing today, it doesn't make any difference. However, under scale, the units are in feet, and you did your default AutoCAD units are actually in inches, and so if you bring it in without adjusting this, your building is going to be too large. So we're going to make sure we change that to be in inches under units, and then we'll go ahead and say OK, and then we'll go ahead and say Open. And apparently I picked the wrong one. Hold on. I should probably open it and make sure first. Oops, you are 135. There we go. This one will work. We'll just do that one. So same thing. AutoCAD. Options. Make sure the units are in inches. Okay. What? Yeah. Okay. So it appears that I may have made an error. We may need to save back one version. My laptop, I have SketchUp 2014, not 2013, so I may have made a mistake. So let's go ahead and open that AutoCAD file. Let me open up AutoCAD. And let me open my building. Open. Okay, so there was my building. Okay, let me do a save as. So instead of the regular save that you've been doing, there's a little save icon with a little pencil next to it. I'm going to click on Save As. And down here under AutoCAD 2013, I'm going to go back a few years. So we'll go to 2010. It should come in as 2010. And let me save this as V2010, and I'll click Save. And I'm going to leave this open to make sure that I actually is working the way I want it to here. Let me switch over into SketchUp. And then let me try to bring it in again. Import. AutoCAD files. There's my 2010 version. Under Options, make sure it's inches. Say OK, and I'll say Open. And now we're actually going to insert. Okay, so that's a good thing. So when it comes in, all of those rays that I created end up being guidelines, right? And all of the lines that I created are actual lines in SketchUp. So if we look at those, here's all our lines. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I can't really work in 3D with these lines just yet because they're not actually surfaces. And so I need to work through creating a surface for these particular pieces. So I have a couple strategies that I can use to make a surface from these. I'm going to close these windows here because we don't need them right now. To make a surface from these lines. The first strategy, right, is to just use the pencil tool and to try to connect a few corner points and to kind of build out the shape. And as you start to make a few lines, it will start to build pieces of the shape here. Okay, but that can be a little annoying. I have no idea why it's not building out this shape for me. It should. The other option is to go ahead and use your rectangle tool and to draw a big rectangle surface, right, over one of these surfaces. And you can see that it's starting to build out surfaces, and I can see them in this kind of bluish color. There's not a right way or a wrong way to do this. We're just trying to build some surfaces in. And SketchUp can be a little bit finicky when it comes to this. We do want to make sure, as I start to look at it, sometimes looking at it in the top view can help. Let me go up to Camera and Standard Views. Let's go to Top View so we can look down on it. We can kind of see what's been created and what hasn't been created. Sometimes you have to kind of triangulate certain pieces to get them to make. Oh, come on. See, even things don't work for me, right? It's that this little piece of trim that's in my way. So let's get rid of that. Just trying to clean a few things up here. Get rid of these. And so this does take a little bit of time. The good news is you don't have to redraw anything. You just have to kind of work through making sure that these shapes exist. And so once you've created the surface, you can go back and delete all of these little lines, and the surfaces will join back together or knit back together. So it can be a little bit annoying at first, but you can get through it. I'm going to get rid of these double lines for right now. Like that, and then we can fill in with a little rectangle there, and we can fill in with a little rectangle there. Perfect. Alright, so let me continue and delete a few more pieces here. Get rid of those, get rid of these. Go. Okay, and so you can see that I'm starting to build up where these are. Now, the nice thing about AutoCAD is we do have the ability to turn on, or excuse me, SketchUp, we do have the ability to turn on and turn off layers. So if I go to Window and then Layers, when I brought in that AutoCAD file, all of my layers came in with AutoCAD. Okay, so I can choose to turn off the elevations, for example. I could choose to turn off the guides and they'll turn off. So my layers stay preserved, which is important to recognize. In reality, I should have done my interior stuff on a separate layer, in which case I wouldn't be stuck with some of these surfaces existing and some of them not. So I just point that out so that you can use your layers to your advantage. Let me continue with a few more little pieces here. Rid of these, So I'm just drawing a few diagonal lines to indicate to SketchUp that I want that to end up being a closed surface. Then I can come back and I can actually select just those diagonal lines and delete them, and the surface will stay. Alright, so once I get to the place where I start to have my walls established, for example, let's switch back into the 3D view here. Let me just go to orbit, and we'll orbit like that. Okay. Now what I can do is I can use that push-pull tool that we did before, right, to raise and lower these wall sections. Okay. So let me say, let's go on this side here. Right. Let me go ahead and push-pull that section of wall. Right. We're just going to pull it up, hopefully. Come on. It's, for whatever reason, it's going negative on me. Let me just type in a distance. We'll go 8 feet, and that pulls up that section of wall. 8 feet. Okay, and I can continue pulling this up. There. There. And so you can see I'm pulling those pieces up. I can then use a rectangle, right, something like this, at the top, like that, and I can push and pull. Why did that? Give me 1 second here. Ooh, cranky. Let me push pull the lower section, right, up to the height of my window. And that was, what, 3 feet? Wrong one. There it is. So you get the idea, right? So I'm going to start building this up. Now the advantage is that I also have my elevations drawn, so I can use those as reference. And in reality, it makes life a little bit easier if I use these as reference. So let me show my layers. So let me go to my window, layers, and I'm going to activate the north elevation here. So I'm working on the north elevation, and I'm actually going to turn off the rest of these layers right now so that I just have the north elevation, which is here. Well, let me just see. It looks like I'm missing a few lines. I'll turn off at least the guides. There. Okay, so I'm going to take these objects here, I hope, there, and I want to rotate these objects. And rotating can be very tricky without some kind of a practice object. So I'm going to really quickly create a little practice object, a little rectangle here, using the push-pull tool, so that I can work with the, let's go full scene, so that I can work with my scene here. And I'm going to select that object, and I'm going to use the rotate command, which is right here. And the way rotate command, and the reason I set up this box ahead of time, is because it likes to rotate from a surface. And so default rotations are going to be blue. I want to rotate in the red because I want this surface, I want to rotate this up. So I'm going to pick this as my corner point, and I'm going to rotate from there to there, and I will have rotated this object up into 3 dimensions, something like that. Okay. Now the advantage here is when I'm using my push-pull, now that I've done this, I can control my object much easier in relation to this other object. So I have a little bit of a foundation showing. I didn't draw the foundation in here, so in reality I need to move this down a little bit. So we'll move it from there down. And now when I'm using that push-pull tool to adjust it, I can actually snap across so that it's the correct height to my existing building. So I'm just clicking and holding and dragging until I get that point. Like that. It will also allow me to do, say, the window. I can make sure it matches up correctly to the window there. This one I can match up to this window there. See, does that kind of make sense how I'm using that as a reference for what's happening on my elevation over here? I can also use my pencil tool here and draw a line, and draw a line here. And I need to know where the top of this is, so let's come across. There it is, locks in, draw across there. Delete that, and I can delete this surface right there. And I need it back over here as well, so let's draw in a little bit more here. There. Select this, delete it, and I've now created that first window. Okay, so it takes a little bit of practice to work through how this works, but the point is that I'm referencing that original drawing that I created to build out this part of my building. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so what you're going to do today is start building the building that you drew for your assignment 105. If you find that you don't like certain pieces or things don't work as well as you wanted them to, obviously you can make modifications. If you have a multi-floor building, you'll do the same multi-floors, so you'll add floors. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Next class we'll talk about integrating into the site and that sort of thing, and then we'll start talking about how do you get good quality output. So spend today is intended for you to spend it really modeling as carefully as you can, get as much done as you can, because as we go forward there's going to be more and more about kind of post-processing, how do you get nice looking drawings out of SketchUp, and less to do with the actual modeling. If you have any questions about how you would model something specific, by all means let me know, and we'll work through it. Okay?